Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Facebook Live event. Today, we are gathered to talk about the state budget and the incredible wins. And if I had like a bell and whistles, I would be lighting it off right now, that we have secured because of you and the incredible work that all of our caregivers have done to make sure that we fight to invest in the care for the future of California. And we are going to talk about those wins and talk about what we're going to continue to do to make sure that investment happens. And besides me, I am joined today with my awesome brother, Executive Vice President Arnulfo de la Cruz. Hey, Arnulfo.
Hey, Kim.
And we are also joined today, we're really excited, by Assembly Member Phil Ting and our very own Executive Board Member and IHSS Leader Extraordinaire, Camille Christian. So I am excited about this conversation. I don't know about you, Arnulfo.
Yeah, I am too, Kim. I think that's exactly right. And I also think our conversation today is so important given just how much everyone has been through the past 12 months. So we're really excited to lend today's Facebook Live to key voices who are choosing to speak out and speak up on some really, really important issues.
Yeah, exactly. I think that, we can't say enough about how much people have been through, right? And as much as we are emerging from this COVID-19 pandemic, we are busy moving solutions to the deep-rooted problems which have plagued our care system. It was not news to anyone that does this work, whether you're a home care worker or a nursing home worker, that when this pandemic hit, there was a basic lack of preparedness with personal protective equipment for care workers, short staffing in our nursing homes that was just completely exacerbated by this pandemic, a lack of respite relief for home care workers, a lack of regulatory oversight, and of an industry that really prioritizes profits in a system that's supposed to be about people and patients and care. And so look, the system is broken and we've known that for a while, but COVID just shed this huge light. And it's no surprise that in California, nearly 50,000 nursing home workers and nearly 60,000 residents were confirmed COVID-19 cases. But look, we do what this moment has called us to do. We have to act with urgency, right? To double down in our investment in caregiving infrastructure to ensure that we expand the number of good union caregiver jobs needed to care for our growing population of seniors and people with disabilities, and jobs that get us on a path to 20 as a floor and not a ceiling, healthcare and a pension and training and safe work environments. In a nutshell, sisters and brothers, we got to continue the fight to put care first. And we told our stories, put faces and names to statistics and numbers, and educated our California State Assembly on the critical importance in passing a budget that recognizes the shortcomings and invests in our state's long-term care infrastructure. So look, here's a few highlights of this budget that addresses these issues. And I just, again, want to say congratulations, because this was your voices, your actions, your education of others about why this is so important. First up, y'all, restoration, full IHSS program services, permanently eliminating the 7% hours reduction and ensuring consumers receive the full care they deserve. Since 2015, we have been year after year fighting to stave off that 7% cut, and now it is gone. It is fully eliminated. That is incredible work. Confirmed that we have $200 million investment in caregiver training, which would fund career pathways and allow workers to build on their care experience. Continued state participation supporting IHSS costs, super important. For wage and benefit increases to providers, the state pays 65% of non-federal costs, and this state contribution covers increases up to 10% over 3 years. And this was originally set to end in January of 2022, but the state budget removes this end date. And the budget approves trailer bill language, which would put a 7% penalty on counties that fail to reach a collective bargaining agreement for their IHSS workers. And there's an expansion of Medi-Cal, including IHSS, to low-income undocumented adults over age of 50. Those are just a few highlights of what we've been able to achieve in this budget. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Assembly Member Phil Ting. He is, for those of you who do not yet know him and haven't had the pleasure of interacting with Assembly Member Ting, he is the chair of the Assembly's Budget Committee. He's the son of immigrants from Taiwan. He represents the 19th Assembly District, which includes parts of San Francisco and San Mateo counties. Over the years, his office has been supportive on multiple bills for our members, including AB 1695. Folks, remember this was our change of ownership bill that we passed in 2019 to put stronger requirements on the change of ownership processes that take place in our nursing homes when they buy, sell, or change owners. AB 1042, this is a current bill to bring accountability on related parties that do business with nursing homes, and he voted in support on the Assembly side. And finally, on the 7% restoration, Assemblymember Ting has been a champion on this as the Assembly Budget Committee Chair. So, Assemblymember Ting, we're so glad to have you here today to discuss the importance of investing in long-term care. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Kim Arnolfo. It's great to be here with you and all your members. We've been fighting for years for this 7% restoration. Goes back to the Jerry Brown years. We've been fighting for so long. We know that the last recession really hit so many communities, but also workers very hard. We know that in particular in healthcare, human services, we've been fighting to get back. And I would say finally in this budget, we are restoring so many of the losses that we took during the last Great Recession. That 7% has just been an albatross around all our necks, and we've been trying to get it off forever. Working arm in arm with all of you and all your workers has been just an honor for me. We've had to educate the counties. At times, the counties have been helpful. At times, they've been their own worst enemy. And it's been so exciting to see all of you up here in the Capitol, but also I know each of you have been fighting this fight at each of your counties as well and been victorious there. So that's just been great. This year's budget, I think Kim covered it very well, but this is really a budget to fight poverty. We are taking a huge step towards universal health care. We are increasing the DD rates for all the disability centers across the state. It's been a long time coming. We knew that they were sorely underfunded, and we've been fighting to really get that money back for so many families that rely on those centers each and every single day. We also have in our general fund, $2.5 million this next year and $4 million the following year, ongoing to fund the Office of Long-Term Patient Care representative. And that's so key for making sure that we have accountability on our skilled nursing facilities and intermediate care facilities. We saw what happened this last year and how much pressure they were under, but also seeing what happens with all the workers who work not just that one job, but also multiple jobs in that sector at multiple homes usually. And we saw COVID was just so challenging for all those homes. And so we were proud to make sure that we provided proper oversight. We knew that we were working with the administration to really tighten those regulations, but your voices were heard. Quite frankly, one of the biggest challenges is that the reimbursements are underfunded. And so we've been very careful to really fight and make sure that we continue to push for greater Medi-Cal reimbursement. We now are expanding Medi-Cal to people over 50 and over. It's a huge step. It's a huge leap toward universal healthcare. So I know for all of us who've been fighting for universal healthcare, we know we don't want just 90% or 92%. We want 100%. But just to give you perspective, when we started, before the Affordable Care Act came into reality, we were about 78% insured. Now, because of all the work that the Affordable Care Act, as well as all the work at the state level, we are now 92% insured across this state. And we know we're not going to rest till we get to 100%. That's going to be a huge, huge win for all of us. And I know that all of us are going to be fighting every step of the way together. I also wanted to highlight $45.5 million for training for certified nursing assistants. That's $40.4 million for CNA startup program scholarships and stipends, and then $5 million for a CNA certification training pilot program based on the healthcare career pathway program. But most importantly, I think I just wanted to reiterate how important it is to have your voice up here at the Capitol. You don't necessarily have to make it up here to Sacramento. You can talk to us when we're at home. You can talk to us when we're back in our districts. But you all being active, your voices being loud, makes a huge difference. You have great representatives between Kim and Arnolfo, and the whole team is just incredible to work with, and it's just been an honor. But for me, it's each and every single one of you with all the workers, your individual stories, your individual voices when we hear about how hard it is to work at a nursing home, how hard it is to be working for in-home support services. I know for a fact how difficult it is. When my grandmother was living with my parents, we were lucky enough to have an IHSS worker in our home. It meant that she could stay in our home and we didn't have to send her to a nursing home. And having her be able to stay in our family home and be cared for and get the proper care was really incredible. And that was my first introduction to IHSS. And you will forever have a lifelong supporter in that program. So I just wanted to thank 2015, all the members, and everything that you do, not just for your patients, not just for our seniors, not just for our community, but really everything you do for our state. So thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Great. Thank you, Assembly Member, so much. And I don't know if you can see the comments, but I see a lot of appreciation for your leadership. I'm seeing hello, SEIU 2015 family. Would you be able to field maybe one or two questions?
Absolutely.
I think one of the questions we got from our members was, are there any other aspects that you'd like to share just broadly about the budget that you feel help working long-term care workers in California?
Well, I'll tell you, the last thing we're fighting for is, I know it's not 2015, but we're fighting for child care rate increases. Mm-hmm. We know how poorly paid child care workers are, how critical the work is. My kids were in child care centers since they were about 6 months old. It was absolutely critical for me and my wife to be able to work. Without childcare, we weren't able to. That remains a fight. I know SEIU was able to find agreement on their contract, but there's still 75% of the non-unionized workforce. And even though they're not unionized, we still got to stand up for them. And we have to obviously encourage them to be unionized. But at the same time, before they are, we still have to continue to fight for them. And so that remains one of our last fights between the legislature and the governor. We are not going to back down. I'm just going to tell you that. We know we are in the right, and we are fighting for just everyday workers. And that's going to be another fight that we are absolutely extraordinarily proud of. This is a great budget for education. Goes to about $21,000 a year for education. And again, we saw this note really about the disabled centers. There is a rate study, a $1.2 billion rate study that has been in need of implementation. Until now, all we could say is that we heard about the rate study, but we are now implementing a 5-year program to raise rates over those 5 years to get that $1.2 billion implemented. So that's going to be a huge increase for all the DD centers across the state. Hopefully all the families are going to start to feel the difference. I know they've had a very tough year. Many of those centers haven't always been able to provide the service that they normally do. And so we know that that's going to be a huge boon in those areas. So those are just some of the quick areas. We also have huge win in CalWorks and CalFresh, as usual, fighting for really our poorest and working class families. Also, for any of your friends that haven't filed taxes, please encourage them to file their taxes. And that's why is because we have the California Earned Income Tax Credit. Even if they don't need to file taxes, they should, because they may be able to get a check from California. On top of that, we are doing our second round of the Golden State stimulus for families earning $75,000 or less, but you don't get it unless you file your taxes. So please please file your taxes. Please also encourage your friends to file taxes. And once you file them, you don't need to do anything else. You will be getting checks in the mail if you qualify under a certain income. So just want to make sure you all hear that information too.
That's terrific. Kim, anything else on your end that you see? Any questions?
No, I think he answered Kevin had a question, and it was about the disability, I think supports. And so I think Assemblymember Ting, you answered that in your last response. So that was great. I just see a lot of like great work, and thanks for protecting and respecting and fighting for long-term care workers. So we've just really appreciated having you here with us. And I love that you said not only hear our voices, but loud voices. I love that you said that.
Absolutely, because we know we don't get invited to the party. We got to force our way into the party, and we all have been doing that together. And if you guys weren't loud, you wouldn't be heard. Let's just be frank. And so it's really important that you keep fighting, you keep standing up for yourselves. But really why it's been so great to work with 2015 isn't that you just fight for your own piece of the pie. You fight for workers, whether they're unionized or not, workers all across the board. And so I think that is really something I'm so proud of, to work with your union, because it's not just about you, it's about us. And it's about us really thriving together.
Well, thank you so much, Assemblymember. I do remember you actually joining us on a Zoom with several of our members from San Francisco. This was before the state budget process had kind of started, and you said, this is going to be a challenging year, right? We were in the middle of a pandemic. I couldn't think of a more incredible result for long-term care workers, and we know there's still so much to do. So we appreciate your decades of leadership on behalf of long-term care workers and all workers, and we look forward to seeing you really soon, and we appreciate you joining us this afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for all the hard work. Really appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks.
And so, I feel like, Kim, it's just a great example that sometimes the perception maybe is that in Sacramento, all these important decisions are being made, and how do those decisions impact the average person living in a city or in a county? And it's good to be able to connect with some of the decision makers who really are trying to put our best interests first. But I think it was great to hear the Assembly members say, look, the voice of our members being lifted up is what allows us to pay attention to the issues that are important to long-term care workers. And, we got to continue to organize to leverage more resources for long-term care workers across California. Mm-hmm. And we know that every year, the state budget is just one important vehicle to do that. Also, earlier this year, as you know, we launched the Put Care First campaign. Part of that effort is to transform the nursing home industry in the wake of the pandemic to ensure that patients are prioritized over profit. And I'm sure it doesn't come as a surprise, but many of us, either we've had a loved one ourselves or someone that we know who has either received care at a nursing home or they themselves work at a nursing home. And it's important that patients and our members who care for them deserve to have dignity and respect. But we know too often that the companies and the owners who own the nursing homes are putting profit over patients. And that's why we said it's time to put care first. Not only is the right thing to do, but we're not going to stop until we're putting care first. So this is a 2-year statewide campaign that will address some of the failures in the industry that we really saw had horrible consequences during this pandemic across the state of California. And under the current system, nursing home owners use all of these complex ownership schemes that they try to avoid accountability and transparency. So they use this thing that's called related parties, where owners of the nursing homes can create these other shell companies, and then they can overcharge for services provided to their own home. We even see that actually in the news coming out recently just this week. So
is that where they coined the phrase shell game? Is that like on the street?
That's right. Yep, that's exactly right, Kim. And there's a lot of shell shocking and shell game going on, and we gotta put a stop to that, right? And we know that we can address some of these shortcomings because in the end, it's our members who are doing the work and those they care for who are also our loved ones that stand to benefit. But they also are bearing the brunt of the consequences of the system. So we got to address this. And that's why we're all saying, let's put care first. We're going to continue to pass legislation that holds the industry accountable. At the same time, we're going to keep organizing, right? We're going to organize on the ground to make sure that the voices of caregivers are being heard by everyone who can make a difference. And by the way, one of those people who have been making a real difference since the formation of our union, someone who both Kim and I know very well, and maybe many of you do too, is a terrific member leader of ours from Alameda County, Ms. Camille Christian. Ms. Camille has been an IHSS provider for over 15 years. Her caregiving started long before the IHSS program in California, when she was caring for her younger sister since she was 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She has worn a lot of different hats in SEIU Local 15, a member, an organizer, a delegate to CARA, an executive board member, and we all know that Ms. Camille is incredibly passionate about being active on behalf of caregivers. And also, Ms. Camille, we just appreciate your leadership so much. So welcome to the conversation, sister.
Thank you so very, very much. Good to see you, Kim, and our
Me
new
too.
folks. And I'm so glad to have heard Phil Tang and his support that he has for our union and the work that he's been doing. You know, a lot of times people don't understand what it means to be a caregiver and why people do what they do. Oftentimes, it's not because you chose that you wanted to do this directly. It was there. And you made the decision that I'm either going to be able to continue the path that I was on in education or my job or my business, or this person that I care about, that I love, is struggling. And they need somebody to be there that's going to love them into health and help them maintain in-home care and dignity while they're being cared for. This is the gut of in-home care. It's not just something that people take lightly. You change your hat so many times as a caregiver. You may start off the services that you may start off with. Maybe I'm helping you with your therapy, and I'm helping you get dressed, and I'm helping you with your doctor's appointments and your meds. And then life changes.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, you're now doing dialysis, in-home dialysis. So your whole night is taken up with taking care of somebody all night long. And your vacation is not a vacation because you got to pack up everything it takes to take care of that person with their dialysis and take it wherever you go.
Mm-hmm.
People think that it's simple. It's not. It takes a heart of love, compassion, and commitment. You have to be committed in order to do this. I've gone from dialysis to learning how to do drainage bags to learning how to do special shots and identifying when those shots have to be given, call the doctor and say, okay, it's time for the shot, going and sitting in the hospital and being in the hospital for a week at a time and being the one that makes sure that the nurses and the doctors are doing what they need to do and being a part of that medical team.
Mm-hmm.
That in-home care workers don't get paid for that. It's not about the pay, but people should be paid fairly for what they do. It's not that people say, well, because I do this, I should have $1 or $2 more. Caregivers are therapists. They have to listen to that person and help that person get through their emotional challenges. They have to be pharmacists. They have to measure the medications and make sure the medications are there on time. They have to be schedulers, making sure the appointments are kept. They have to be drivers, taxi cabs, getting them back and forth to the doctor's office. They have to be nutritionists, making sure that that person is getting the right amount of nutrition. People ask why I'm so compassionate about this, because this saves people's lives. It helps people have beautiful lives. in spite of their illness or injuries or mental capacity. It helps them have good lives. And there is no amount of money that you can put on that. Because see, when the doctor goes home, he doesn't go home with his patient. But those of us that do in-home care for somebody that lives with you, you never have a break. There's never a time when your patient, your person that you care for, is not there.
Mm-hmm.
So people, please understand how important this is. It not only helps people live longer, stay out of the hospital system, saves our county and our state, our government, millions and millions and millions of dollars. But what in-home care workers do is they make sure that our most vulnerable people, our seniors, our disabled, our individuals that don't have a voice, that can't speak up for themselves, have a voice, are taken care of. And in SEIU, that's what we do. We make sure that their voices are heard. We make sure that people understand why the work that we do and why those individuals, just because they can't come up and stand before everybody, need to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
We make sure they need to be heard and that their voices are truly heard and honestly heard. Thank you for your time.
I love you, Kristen. Lay it all out there in such a beautiful way, and you're so passionate about it. And that's what, honestly, Camille, it's why elected leaders like Assemblymember Ting do what he does, because you tell that story, and he knows there's no way that you can't walk away from that doing the right thing, like you have to. So just appreciate just how authentic and beautiful you are as a person. And we love that you are a leader in this beautiful union of ours.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it was really interesting to make that connection, Camille, when the assembly member said, look, it's the stories of 2015 members that have really brought these issues to the top. And to hear you, there's no one who can describe that more beautifully that you can. And the more of us that are unafraid to tell our stories, the bigger the impact that we have. So thank you so much, Miss Camille. I don't know if you've been able to see the chat, but I see yes, ma'am from Nene Hardy. I see thank you, Camille, for telling it as it is from Miss Carmen Roberts. I see David Werlin leaving some love in the chat for you. And all across the union, we're all stronger when we're sharing each other's stories and really respecting each other's voices. So we appreciate your leadership, Miss Camille. And I think it's really clear from the testimonies that we've heard today that the long-term care system in California, Kim had detailed out some incredible victories. And at the same time, we also know that there's so much more that we could do to make sure that the system is going to serve our members and their families and their communities better. And we're also calling on fellow members, community leaders, and electeds to invest in long-term care, not next year, but this year and in the future. And we know a big part of that is the federal piece that we didn't spend a lot of time talking about today, but the White House has proposed the biggest investment in the long-term care and the care economy that we've ever seen. And on July 13th, we're going to let the world know that we want that passed and that long-term care workers should be front and center as we reimagine building back better in this country. So don't just be there, beat me there, beat Kim and I there. July 13th, Los Angeles and Oakland, we're going to be having a national day of action. So you can check out our Facebook page for more information. Make sure you sign up. Don't just show up yourself. Bring a family member, bring your spouse, bring your loved one. This is an issue that impacts all of us. Also, both events are going to be live streamed. So if you really can't be there in person, that you can also live stream it so you can tune in remotely. And I think we're going to have that graphic showing up on the screen.
Yeah, and Arnulfo, if I can just insert, just because July 13th, as you said, is about us, this is us putting down, our marker. Like, we got to invest in care. We need that investment that President Biden pushed out $400 billion. We got to bring that home. And I want to lift up, like, that's for Tilda Gutierrez and Claudia Leva, when we talk about things like we don't get paid when our client is in the hospital, you know, we have to put gas in our cars, but we don't get compensated. Like, yeah, your hazard pay has come up in the chat. All those things, like be there on the 13th, raise your voices. We need that kind of investment so you get the tools you need to be the best caregivers, but also the best people to provide for your own families, right? And to be healthy and safe and whole as a person. So July 13th is about what you're putting in that chat right now.
All right. So Si Se Puede, join us. We will see you there in Los Angeles and Oakland on July 13th. Kim's got us all fired up now, so don't miss it. Take good care, you all. Let's keep building bridges. Let's keep building power. Let's go get it, SEIU 2015. Thanks for joining.
See you on the 13th. Bye.